Hello, clever people. In the next 8 minutes, I'm hopefully going to remind us why Nudgestock is not only the world's finest festival of behavioural science, but also of creativity. In 1969, Dr. Edward de Bono wrote The Mechanism of Mind, and in it, I believe he anticipated much of what we understand from modern neuroscience to be the underlying mechanisms of creative thinking, mechanisms that if we master, we can become more brilliant thinkers ourselves. And I'd like to share with you some of the techniques I use in my daily work, for which I credit him, and I'd love it if you could help me credit him a little bit more too. In The Mechanism of Mind, de Bono says the mind is not like a piece of paper that records information. It is an active information processing system. It self-organises around the information it receives over time. And this means that patterns form. There are channels of thought that are strengthened in the mind, channels that become quite hard to get outside of. Now, of course, we know today that neurons that fire together wire together, and indeed, if a neural circuit is repeatedly used, that this will strengthen a neural pathway and ultimately bias our thinking. So de Bono really anticipated much of this in terms of thinking within one channel of thought and how the mind operates. But he also defined something called lateral thinking, moving sideways outside of our channel of thought in order to create a new connection and bring a new thought to the surface. So instead of running from A to B, our conditioned, patterned way of thought, lateral thinking provides C. And this gives us new connections to ignore the dominant idea and solve the problem in a new way. But cutting across the patterns of our thought is not natural behaviour for the brain. As the illustrious Daniel Kahneman says, thinking is to humans as swimming is to cats. They can do it, but they prefer not to. Apart from psychedelics, and see me after class for further discussion about this, but psychedelics stimulate the serotonin 2A receptors in the mind that mimic, if you like, a highly dangerous situation in which the brain's response is to laterally connect the mind to become extremely creative in order to save its own life. Apart from psychedelics and/or a near-death experience, lateral thinking techniques are some of the best that we have for forced creativity to order. So why don't we give it a try in what might be the world's biggest ever lateral thinking workshop if you take part. I'd love you to solve this problem and tweet the answer to hashtag Nudgestock2020 at the end of this session. I want you to come up with some solutions for how to get people to wear face masks in public places like shops when this is not yet mandated. How do we nudge their behaviour? And I'm going to give you a random word. So take a look at the screen and take the word that corresponds with the date of your birth. And then from there, connect to the problem. Now, the process here is not logical and vertical. The surrealist André Breton said that the man who cannot imagine a horse galloping on a tomato is an idiot. Your mind is the most complex object in the known universe. All I'm asking you to do is connect the problem of getting people to wear face masks with the word in hand. And it might seem wrong and weird, but it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter the path that you follow. What matters is creating a new answer. So I might have the word satellite. My birthday's on the 9th. That might make me think of solar panels and sustainability, and maybe we create a cleaning station that disinfects masks at the front of stores so that people take them out in order to have them nicely UV disinfected or something and then wear them. What could encourage that behaviour? What matters, as I say, is not how you got there. You might think satellites, you might think Lou Reed, satellite of love, and that might take you somewhere entirely different. What matters is you've come up with a whole new idea. And I use these techniques in my work, as I say. The word hieroglyphic once gave rise to a whole campaign using emojis to talk about sexually transmitted diseases, which were quite difficult for people to discuss. In one workshop I ran for the National Citizen Service, we were looking at how to get young people to actually show up on the day of the programme and not drop out. And the CEO was given the word IKEA, and he said, well, that made me think of building blocks. So maybe we give all the kids who come to the programme, we send them something ahead of time that they have to bring on the day, a little piece of something. And if they don't come, then the whole thing will not be complete. They won't have assembled it. The behavioural scientists in the audience might call that a commitment device. And here's the thing, I use behavioural science thinking, which is often sometimes unintuitive. I use it as a lateral thinking tool through what Bono calls provocations. So I've designed my own little cards based on the mind space framework, but the important thing is for each behavioural principle at work here, I've got a little provocation that's designed to make me think differently about the problem in hand. So I might say face masks, the principle is its incentives and present bias. How might we get people to be rewarded in the here and now rather than in the future for wearing this mask? And I might say, okay, well, when they walk in, there's going to be a great big green flashing sign. It's going to recognise they're wearing a mask. A big thumbs up. Thank you very much for wearing a mask in our store. The principle might be variable rewards. The provocation might say, how might we build in some kind of lottery system that encourages compliance? And there's a prize draw every day. Some random punter in our shop is going to be given a special prize. Again, what matters is not the principle. It's not the provocation. It's the generation of a whole new idea that you wouldn't otherwise have had. But that's not my point at all, because my point really is this. The Nobel Prize cannot be awarded posthumously, and I know many in our community will feel very deeply that this is a very sad thing, particularly when Amos Tversky was never awarded and honoured for the work that he did alongside Daniel Kahneman, which was his due. Let us not let Dr. Bono, who turned 87 last month, let us not let him, who has anticipated so much of what we understand about creative thinking, who has trained millions of people worldwide through his 87 books in 45 different languages, thousands of workshops with thousands of participants, let us not let him pass from this world without being honoured in the way that he should be. At a time when arguably the world needs creative and lateral thinking more than ever before. So Twitterati, I ask that this Nudgestock 2020, that you help me ask the Nobel jury to pay attention to the value that Dr. Bono has given this world. Share with me your lateral solutions and a simple tweet, #DeBono for Nobel. Thank you very much.